Good evening, everyone, and welcome to episode 2 of the Integrity Racing Show for 2017. Going back a little old school, Todd's not here tonight. He is reffing a soccer game and will be home a little bit late. So, got to go back old school because I'm not as technologically advanced as Todd is. But hopefully, we'll be back with the whole high-tech deal next week. But tonight, we have on the show with us two brothers who finished 1-2 at Daytona this past Monday night. As you can see, one of them is very excited. The other one, probably not quite as much, but I'm sure he's happy. Adam de Blasio and Eric de Blasio are with us tonight. We're going to talk about Daytona and all the excitement that happened there. And considering where these two guys finished and where I finished, they'll do most of the talking. Then we'll talk about Atlanta, which is next week for us for the Cup schedule. And then we'll talk about the Truck Series race that just wrapped up just a little bit earlier. And we had a new winner for that series, new winner for Integrity, I should say. And we'll talk about that a little bit, and it should be a good show. So thank you for joining us tonight. And we'll get jumping right into the top, which is the Cup Series, which was held last night. Obviously, our Cup Series is our main attraction here at the Integrity Racing League. So we had a full field last night, plus some. We sent 6 drivers home last night in our first race of the season. And what we decided to do is kind of cap the Cup Series field with no more new members as far as they're concerned. So hopefully we'll be able to have a good mix of drivers in full fields through the first few weeks at least, and have really good racing. I'm going to toss it to Adam here, and he's going to bring up the results for the Cup Series race last night and kind of give you a rundown of the top 5.
All right, so the results are as follows. You got yours truly. Myself, I got my first career win in Integrity this year. And this was my 39th Integrity Racing League start. Then I had my brother finishing second to me. Then we had 2 one-up motorsports teammates in third and fourth, Jason K. Miller and Colton Landis. And then we had a bunch of lockdown drivers, including Joe Lawrence in 5th, Faye Ash in 6th, Lambert in 7th. We got Burcroft in 8th, another lockdown driver in Matt Bontempi in 9th. And then rounding out the top 10 is another one-up motorsports driver of Joshua Campbell.
All right. Now, obviously, with a large field like that, there's a lot of competition. The big thing of the night last night, which caught me off guard for sure in our strategy for the Integrity Racing team, there was no cautions last night. Everybody did a great job of racing and holding their line and communicating well with one another. I know there was a couple little incidents here and there to where a couple of the main contenders that was racing last night got caught up in some things, but either spun off into the infield or down pit lane and didn't bring out a caution. Matt Busa being an example of that, or Brad Patton, just a couple off the top of my head. But overall, the racing from a cleanliness standpoint was awesome. I think you had, I believe, as Adam mentioned, one up, 2 to green and lockdown, really battling at the front of the field to kind of control the field, I think would be a good way to put it. Eric or Adam, why don't you chime in and kind of tell us how the front of the field was working, and how did you feel about the different teams trying to move up to the front and maybe trying to take control of the pace of the field?
I know for 2 to green, we definitely had a strategy to get up front right away. We qualified together to be in the top 10. Once the race began, we started running together and trying to get to the front, and we were able to do so. And once we got to the front, we wanted to stay up front, but there was a bunch of battling with one up and lockdown, which allowed really good racing and different strategies for pitting. With the pitting, Lockdown decided to pit first, and they were able to run their race, and we decided to pit a little later, and it just worked out better for us, I think.
All right, and Adam, why don't you explain to us how exactly the pit stops through the course of the race kind of changed or affected how the racing went on? It looked like, in watching the broadcast from earlier this morning, that each pit stop kind of changed the dynamic of how the race was run and who was up front at the time. So why don't you explain how you adjusted to racing after each pit stop?
Yeah, the first pit stop, when Lambert named all those numbers, first off, I was like, holy cow, how did he remember all those numbers? And then Todd basically put it best on all teams and said, hey guys, Lockdown is pitting. So they decided to pit on lap 33/34. So I was thinking that they were trying to do even runs. That was their strategy going in. I also watched the broadcast today. It looked like they had some issues coming on pit road and stuff. So getting up to speed and coming on pit road, it kind of burnt them a little bit. Whereas we stayed in the main pack and we stayed there until about lap 40-ish, plus or minus 1 or 2 laps. So did everyone else. There wasn't really much action on the first pit stop, really, but the real action came on the second pit stop when it was funny because Todd said, all right, guys, old tires, don't slide them. And then guess who ends up sliding the tires and going in the grass? Todd. That's very unfortunate for him. Eric and I were working with him really well. And then we were planning to pit on lap 79. So when Duel announced that we were pitting, it also attracted Brad Patton and Trey Browning. I think Brendan Burcroft came in as well. But Duel gave it all he could, but Trey was behind him and he was giving it a little bit too much and accidentally ran into the back of him. That caused Duel to speed with that extra speed boost at pit lane. So Eric and I actually lost Duel and Todd as drafting partners. But contrary to what you said before, Patton didn't actually spin out. He actually missed his pit stall and had to go around the track and repit. So that was that last pit stop was the move of the race. Also, another thing I noticed watching another driver stream is that there was actually various strategies on that pit stop. Eric and I took 4 tires, and I think a lot of other people took 4 tires as well, but I know one up. I believe Colton and Jason both took 2 tires. So that was definitely a good play of strategies to see how it would affect the final 20 laps of the race.
Yeah, I agree with that. And looking at the replay from last night and also the strategy we were talking about on our team channel for who got 20th last night. But yeah, I think the strategy we went with is you pit, you take your 4 tires, and you have a little bit more maneuverability and ability to kind of hang on to the car better or make moves. When it came down to, and we'll actually look at it here in a second. I think kind of explain or show us the last lap of the race through the broadcast and kind of explain to us maybe the 4 tires that you took where it might have had an advantage over Colton and Jason, who you're racing there at the finish.
Yeah, so I apologize there won't be any sound, but of course you can always watch this uh, video on YouTube on MaxSpeed TV 4. So this is coming to the final lap. At this point, Eric and I have decided to try and go for the lead and the win. Right here, I'm just trying to push him past the lead. So at the here, I try and tuck down to get a little draft from Jason, but then I knew with 4 tires and the high line, we would get a good run down the back. I didn't expect Colton to block Eric, and then Eric decided to make a hole there. And then right here, I'm definitely not pushing Colton past Eric, so I decided to go high, and Eric's telling me to lift even though I'm not behind Colton. And then right here, I'm going to push Eric to the lead. But unfortunately, Eric comes up, and I'm like, okay, Eric's too slow. And then I decide to avoid everyone, and I end up sneaking through, and there's a nice little um, wreck behind that. But yeah, so that was going through my mind in that final lap.
Now, Eric, why don't you tell us your end of the story there? What did you? Obviously, it was a lot of intensity on that final lap between the four of you. Why don't you kind of give us a small recap of what you were thinking and how you were trying to execute there in the last lap?
Yeah, me and Adam were talking over TeamSpeak. We decided to make our move with 2 to go. We thought that would be the best opportunity. So we started making our move with 2 to go. Didn't make much headway. I was able to make it side by side with Jason on the backstretch with 2 to go, but we didn't get that good run until the backstretch. Once coming into turn 1 and 2 on the final lap, I was hoping Adam could latch onto my bumper and we could just fly by them. He was telling me to brake and drag the brake and we'll be able to go past him. But then I saw Colton come up and block me, so I'm like, what do I do now? And I just gave him a little tap. I moved down into Jason and made it 3 wide, made a hole. Going into 3, I was yelling at him, lift, 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 to make sure that he didn't help Colton because I thought he was behind him. And then coming off 4, I made the stupidest mistake in coming up and trying to force Colton up the track, and we made some contact, which ultimately ended the chance of me winning the race, which I really wanted to do. But you know, if I were to lose to somebody, I'd like to lose to my brother. We were working together well all we were working together well all night. But yeah, it was a fun race, really exciting. I couldn't believe what was happening at the end there.
To kind of elaborate on that, why don't Eric, either one of you, why don't you elaborate a little bit on what it's like racing with your brother and how that works? That's a unique opportunity, obviously. You know, I'm lucky enough to be able to race with Dad when he comes out and races. He was out raced last night, and it's always enjoyable. What do you get out of racing with one another?
Oh, I absolutely love racing with Adam. The only time I want to race is when he's racing. Most of the time, for like A fixed, B fixed, I'm always asking him, "Hey, you want to race?" And if he says no, I'm like, I don't really want to race. But when he was able to get me into IRL last season, and I was really happy because I got to race with him, and that's the most fun. Definitely racing against family, seeing who's better at what track. It's definitely a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's definitely awesome. Adam, why don't you say for a quick second, what do you think?
Yeah, I got iRacing in Christmas of 2014, And I I basically said to my parents, I either want a late model or iRacing. And guess what I got? I got iRacing. And I would let Eric go around and practice on my wheel and stuff. And he said, "Oh man, I really want iRacing." So next Christmas, we got him iRacing, and he said, "You know what? I want. I don't care about racing an official. I just want to race with you." And because of me, I've gotten Eric into a lot of leagues to be able to race with each other, and I think it's pretty cool how uh, Integrity Racing League has a set of brothers. I remember at one point in the race, Duel saying, "Man, if the De Blasio brothers finish 1-2, is it as good as the Allison brothers finishing 1-2?" So, yeah, whether it's brothers racing or you and your dad racing, Jacob, families all is awesome to race with.
I can certainly agree with that. That's for sure. Well, that's basically the recap of Daytona. Once again, congratulations to the both of you, Adam and Eric, for finishing the top two. Obviously, Adam gets a chase berth from his win from Daytona, and we'll kind of look at that here in a second. We're going to go over a couple of the different spreadsheets and standings. We'll start with the Rookie of the Year standings, and Adam will post that up for me there. And obviously, we have a lot of new and talented drivers for the Rookie of the Year, so that should be an interesting battle as we get going into the season, and different drivers emerge as a challenger for that. Obviously, Adam, you were the winner of the Rookie of the Year last year. I'm sure your trophy somewhere behind you there. But why don't you give us a look at the standings after our first race, and take a quick second to talk about it.
All right, so the standings for this race. Unfortunately, out of the 16 rookies that are in this league, only 6 rookies made the Daytona race last night, whether it be because they missed it on qualifying or couldn't show up. So you had Joe Lawrence being the highest rookie, finishing 5th. Then you had David Rattler, who finished 22nd, Brad Patton 23rd after his pit road mishap, Brendan Coppinger 30th, Logan Sheets 31st, and Nick Terbush 34th. And he was actually the only rookie to get a clean race bonus, which is 2 points. And none of those rookies led a lap, so they don't get any lap leg bonus. But as far as the standings go, it's first race of the season. If you finish first in the race, then you are first. So here are the standings.
Yeah, I think so definitely the two things to notice with, or that kind of stood out to me with the Rookie of the Year, is that both Rattler and Patton were pretty much towards the front for the vast majority of the race, and one mistake here and there caught him out, and Patton ended up back with our group for the last 10 or 12 laps. And then right at the end, we managed to catch up to Rattler, and I think Chris and I got by him in the last couple of laps. So they definitely have the talent to run up front and be in contention for the Rookie of the Year award, or the championship for that matter. But in this race, caught up in a couple of things right at the end and relegated them further back than probably what they deserved as far as finish goes. Next, we'll take a quick look at the team challenge and see where everybody stacked out there. Obviously, with the team challenge, I think the 3 main teams that came out on top of at Daytona was the 2 to Green team, the Lockdown team, which both of them have 2 teams, but the main team for them tonight or last night, and then the One Up Motorsports team, I think, are at top of the series currently, which Adam will have that.
All right, so as you can see, 10 teams were represented of the 12 teams in the Integrity Racing League. First is One Up Motorsports. They had a really good showing. Their average points for the race was 37.4 points. Then one of the 2 to Green teams had the second best average at Daytona, followed by Lockdown Orange team that I'm not going to pronounce that because, well, Fayash is going to be upset I can't pronounce it because he was messaging me today to change their name. But anyway, fourth is 666 Motorsports. I know that's Guillermo's team. And then the other 2 to Green Motorsports is fifth. And because Fife is the league owner and he's on here, I'll mention the Integrity Racing team is sixth after hanging out in the back and running single file, hoping for a yellow.
Adam's given me sympathy points already this season. But yeah, obviously, once again this year, I think the team challenge will be a very interesting race throughout the season. Try not to pull a Nick Ward and tell you how interesting it'll be to see what happens. But it'll be a good look. I think there are a lot of great teams that have been formed this season, both new and old, and it'll be good to watch that go forward throughout the season. Finally, what we'll look at and kind of let you know something about, we'll look at the chase grid here real quick. Obviously, I think Adam just wants to highlight himself up top. But the main thing we want you to know about each of these spreadsheets that he does is that you can find them on our Facebook page in the pin post section. You click that pin post and all the links come up for those spreadsheets so that Adam doesn't have to post each one up every time he gets them done each week. So if you want to find something about the league, whether it's with the Truck Series or the Cup Series, post it. It's going to be in that pin post. Just go on the Facebook page, click on it, and it'll bring everything up for you right at your fingertips, and you can look at all the information that the league has to offer.
Yeah, so as you can see here, it's very similar to the picture format I did before. I don't have the number graphics yet because those actually take a very long time to make. But this will be the placeholder for that for now. But as you can see here, race 1 is done, 25 races until the chase starts. One driver has a win, but that one driver is not necessarily locked into the chase yet. So still 25 more races to go.
Yeah, definitely a long way to go, and there's a lot of capable drivers that can make it in for sure. So that basically wraps up our Daytona discussion. We'll look ahead for the Cup Series real quick. Both series will be going to Atlanta next week, and we've done a little bit of testing. We had our test race there a couple weeks ago, and very interesting racing. I think the multi-groove aspect that we're looking for will come in at Atlanta next week. And you know, the different lines that'll develop and how people drive. I thought something interesting I'll say real quick, and then I'll toss it to Eric, is I got on Dad's computer earlier today and did some testing with him to try to help him out at Atlanta. And I noticed that even from computer to computer, it feels different in how you drive and how I drove it compared to what I'm used to. So the differences will make for interesting racing at Atlanta, where you can go pretty much anywhere you want to on the track and make passes and make moves, but a very fast track and very easy to make mistakes on if you're not careful, especially on corner exit. Eric, what are your feelings about Atlanta, and what do you think of your prospects about having another solid finish at our second race of the year?
Yeah, I think I have a pretty good shot at doing well again. During the winter series that Alan put on, I was able to finish up in the top 10, I believe, if not even the top 5. I was running top 5 most of that race, so I was pretty excited about that. I'm pretty excited about getting going at a track that takes a little more skill. And I know last season, I had a tough go about at Atlanta, and I got involved with maybe a teammate or two at 2 to Green that I wasn't teammate with before, and I got on their bad side, but I think I've improved since then, and I'll be able to run up front. Hopefully, get a top 10, top 15. I'd be happy.
Help if I unmuted. I think Lord have mercy. All right. Sorry. Yeah, I think definitely another top 15 will do well for that track. There's, like I said, a lot of lanes to work with. I know that's what I'm shooting for as an improvement over last week. I always run well at Atlanta, and am hoping to kind of take, I think I had a top 5 there last year, and do the same so I can get up in the top 16 of the standings. So let's go ahead and move to the truck series now. We'll go over that for a couple minutes really quick and kind of wrap things up. And obviously, we just had our first race of the series for the truck series at Daytona. Again, it was 80 laps. We had about 18 or 19 trucks for the event, and it was some great racing. I think we had 2 cautions, and I'm not going to attempt to pronounce his name, even though he showed us how to do it. But the number 25, God, I'm going to butcher it, of Mariusz Lechinsky, I think I did that right, was able to take home the win earlier tonight. Had a great strategy. The second caution that came out landed right when our pit window would open for a final pit stop. A few of us, myself, stayed out and led some laps, had some good racing, and then, but Marius and a couple others were able to come in and last just long enough to make it to the finish. So Adam will bring up the results for the truck series there. The one thing about the truck series that I really like is you can race 3 wide, you can make lane changes and do a lot of things that you really can't do with the Cup car. But let's take a look at the results that Adam has there and get a load of the top 5 there. Maybe.
I actually don't have the results of those yet.
All right,
Yeah,
I can pull up. Maybe.
Okay, I have them right now. All right, so let me screen share. Sorry about that, guys. So 80 laps at Daytona. In first place, we have Marius taking the win.
Yeah, you try to pronounce it, Adam.
I'm smart. I'm moving on to second place. Second, we got Matthew Wright. Third, we got Ben Zenner. Fourth, we got Mark Robertson, and then fifth, we got Nick Terrabuch. So 17 trucks out for an 80 lap race at Daytona, which had 2 cautions.
Yeah, I want to give credit to Guillermo real quick before we move on. He pulled a fast one on me and Nick at the end of the race. We were spread out because of pit strategy and stuff, and he happened to be just ahead of the leader, the winner of the race, and the winner pushed him around to catch up with us. And so Nick and I are battling for, I think it was 5th at the time, and come off of 4. I'm so focused on trying to pass Nick. Out of nowhere, Guillermo comes up behind both of us with a full steam with the eventual winner of the race and blows by both of us and gets 5th place there. So I thought that was pretty hilarious. Not to mention about Pete myself, because he scared me half to death. So that was pretty funny. So I have to give props to Guillermo on that one. Once again, the truck series will be at Atlanta as well next week on Tuesday. Keep in mind, for those of you who want to run the truck series with us, the session opens at 7:30 Eastern time, and the race starts at 8:25 Eastern time. So that's a little bit earlier than the Cup Series, and the races are a little bit shorter. For one, that's to help end the race earlier, so we won't be up so late. And 2, it's also to help us guys out who do the show right after the race. So just keep that in mind. We want as many people to show up for the truck series. It was a lot of fun tonight, even though the car count wasn't as high as the Cup Series, obviously. but we had a great time racing in the truck series, and with 3-wide racing and battling, it was crazy, but a lot of fun. So with that, I want to once again thank Adam and Eric for joining me tonight for our second show of the Integrity Racing League. Once again, both series will be in Atlanta next week. It should be a lot of fun. I hope you come out and join us, and we look forward to seeing you out on the track. I hope you all have a good night.
Have a good night. See y'all in Atlanta.